You are now watching Animal Expedition Files.
Wake up with your favorite
Wrong button.
Online, digital, and on your smartphone.
Hey, when that happens.
It's time for your favorite host.
What's up? Welcome to the Animal Expedition Files. I am your host, the Animal, and my co-host, Jessica. What is up?
What's going on? It's been a bit.
It's been a lot of it.
Yeah.
Especially when I'm gotten like to press what button to press. I'm like slack. But yeah, it's been a very crazy couple of weeks. Been sick, and I know you've been sick. Excuse me.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah. So my voice ain't 100% there, but thank you so much for having us back here live on the Animal Expedition Files. It's been a bit, and we're glad to be back. It's a Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. We got Jean in the background here. Finally, we got her in the back room, and we're going to ask her a couple of questions here. But
well, we're going to ask her more than a couple.
More than a couple, yeah. Yeah. Depends on how my voice
You
is.
get two questions, Jean.
That's all you get.
Sorry.
No, it's gonna be a good time. But here I'm just trying to find my videos here. But speaking about weird things, we speak about weird news here, and if they're real or not, it's still cool to talk about it, no matter what, because it's cool to talk about conspiracy theories on this show, and that's what we're all about. Conspiracy theories, Bigfoot, you name it. We'll even talk about you talking on the toilet, eating Taco Bell. So you never know what we'll talk about. But there's something kind of weird on the news, Jess.
Is there?
Yeah, we talked about it a little bit on the news. I know you're a little skeptical about it, but
I'm not skeptical. I just haven't seen this yet. So
it's very interesting because
it's very Black Mirror. That's what it reminds me of.
Yeah, they're trying to shorten your sentence, but doing it with AI. And I've been kind of a big thing on going down the rabbit hole with AI recently. So why don't you guys check this out, and you guys, judge it for yourself. Here, check this out.
This is wild. Cognify is a new concept for a prison reform where criminals would have the choice to choose between spending tens of years behind bars or instead opt to have AI artificial memories implanted into their brain. The idea is to treat criminals like patients and permanently change their brain chemistry by implanting these artificial memories so that when they re-enter society, they are a new and completely reformed person who mentally cannot commit any more crimes. The way that it works is that depending on the severity of the crime, AI would design these false memories to be implanted that would make the person more empathetic, or in some circumstances, make them physically and emotionally feel the pain of their victims and their victims' families. Even though this process only takes about 7 minutes, to the subject, it would feel like it had been years. Last year, the United States government spent $8.7 billion of taxpayer money on the prison system. This whole process would cut that spend significantly, and we could use that extra money on healthcare, education, and other technology advancements. Not to mention, you would have a whole new group of rehabilitated.
Yeah, it's definitely very like Terminator futuristic kind of stuff.
Well, it's kind of like maybe like 5 years away from Minority Report.
Yeah.
That's what that is. I had actually watched a clip earlier of a fake like thing, and it was like a little short movie where instead of something like that, the person whose family was part of like the crime, like say somebody murdered somebody in your family, the person had the right to every 6 months choose a part of their body to be amputated until they decided that it was enough.
Wow.
So like say somebody murdered Herbie. I hate
Yeah.
to use that as an example, but like every 6 months I could go and be like, take an arm off, take a leg off, take his nose, take his ears, until I felt like that was enough punishment.
Wow, that's harsh.
That I mean, that's less harsh than screwing with somebody's brain and with their
Yeah.
memories.
True, you know, you never know. I don't know. We're going into like a crazy like I don't know future. It's not, and especially not just that. Like I don't know if you've seen it, but there's also like a hover car. Did you see the new hover car
Yeah.
that they just released? It's nuts. It's like Back to the Future stuff we're
Yeah.
getting into.
All that shows me is I never want to go to jail so that something like that happens to me.
Yeah, no,
That's
that
like a stay in school kids type of PSA right there.
yeah. Could you imagine how much that would be torturing though? Just like
They wouldn't know though,
yeah,
would they?
yeah, pretty much. I guess. Yeah, I don't know.
It'd be like wiping their memories of any crime they did. So it kind of, in a sense, is like not fair for them to not have to remember they did a crime.
Yeah, and then when they leave, they're like a new person, I guess. You know.
Yeah, I'd rather cut their leg off.
Yeah.
I like my option better.
It's like the Saw movies. Let's just cut their
Well,
arm.
it's an eye for an eye situation.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
You know,
No,
that already happens in some countries. We might as well do it here.
might as well.
Yep.
But yeah, that's pretty interesting. I can't even speak right now. Very interesting stuff right there on Animal Expedition Files, on conspiracy theory and all the crazy stuff that's coming in this world. But we got Jean in the background. We're gonna bring her in here and have some fun. And if I could get everything working here in the back room.
Hi, Tim. Tim's popped
Oh,
in.
Tim. I don't see any. Oh, hey, what's up,
Yeah.
brother? Speaking about Tim, we're gonna be going to the Critter Fest this June, so get your tickets, and you don't want to miss out on it. It's gonna be really good.
Yeah,
We're gonna be there.
blast.
Yep, I'm gonna be there. Jessica's gonna be there. Jean's gonna be there. So let's actually bring her on and let's talk about a little bit about Critter Fest and everything that she does. What is up?
Hey, finally
Hey.
happy to be here.
Finally, I know it's been like ages. Feels like every time like something's gone on and just something happens in this crazy little world. But
Yeah.
we're so excited, and Tim Vogel's actually in the chat
Hi,
comments.
Tim.
He's saying hi there, and I just want to say congratulations because you're going to be part of the Critter Fest.
Yes, I'm so excited.
Oh.
I'm very excited about that, to meet everybody. It's going to be a fun time. We're going to be doing some Bigfoot hunting. We're going to be speaking. We're going to have our shows. There's going to be so much going on there. You name it, it's going to be fun.
Yeah, and it's all the proceeds go towards like the children's outdoor, getting the kids back into the
Back in
environment.
the,
Yeah,
yes.
that's so great.
Yeah.
It's such a great thing, you know.
Yeah, it's for such a good cause. So I'm
Yeah.
excited for this.
It's going to be really good. Plus, we get to go Bigfoot hunting. So that's going to be the good. I'm excited about that.
I'm
It's
excited
fun.
to meet everybody. Like,
I am too. I'm
I
really
can go
excited to meet
I can go
everybody.
Bigfoot hunting in Bridgewater. I'm more excited to go see everybody and meet like the whole community all together in one spot.
It's gonna be a party. That's all.
Yeah, for sure.
And Richie B and Wojo will be there. All the cool and crazy, good-looking guys and people will be there.
All
So-
the good-looking men will be at Critter Fest June 7th. That should be the tagline for it.
Well, at least me.
Ah.
No, that's gonna be awesome. But thank you so much, Gene, for being on the show. We really appreciate it. Why don't you share a little bit about yourself, what you do, and how did you get on this really amazing journey?
Right now, my primary focus is the mountain lion sightings or eastern panther sightings within Maine and other eastern states where they're considered to be extinct. I got on this roller coaster ride actually at the age of 7, and it started with Sasquatch. I saw there was like a little documentary at the time that came out, Sasquatch: The Legend of Bigfoot, and I watched that. I found it kind of strange that my mom actually wanted to watch it. My mom was into like all the old horror movies that like Day of the Animals and Grizzly and stuff, and she had this on, and I think she thought it was something else, but I found it really intriguing. I know that a lot of it was these guys, taking the trek to try to find the creature and stuff. But to me, the whole concept was amazing. It was the first time I had actually seen the Patterson Gimlin footage. When I was 9, I read my first case book in the 4th grade on it. It was a John Green book, although at the time I didn't realize that's what it was. I knew it was a Bigfoot case book, and then absolutely loved it. I remember going up to my teacher going, "Oh my gosh, you would not believe what I just read." And he literally looked at me and goes, "You wasted your time. It's nothing but a bunch of junk." And I was like, "Oh my God, really?" I was like, I found it intriguing. I kept reading as much as I possibly could on the subject and stuff, just kind of kept it to myself. Because I kind of felt like the weird one because everybody thought I was crazy. And then in 2015, I was on Facebook and I saw the International Cryptozoology Museum had an opening for a volunteer. So I reached out and went in for an interview. Was surprised as heck that it was actually Lauren Coleman as taking part in the interview. And I explained my story of how I got into it, the knowledge that I had on the subject. We were discussing like Ruby Creek and different things, Ape Canyon. And he kind of looked at me and he goes, "I have the same thing that happened to him as a child. He saw the movie Half Human, went in, and one teacher says, 'Well, if you like the stuff, look into it, see what's there.' And another one told him he wasted his time because it's, all make believe." And stuff. So he kind of got the same start. So he goes, "This is kind of neat." And so I ended up volunteering there for a while because I was told at the start they don't hire anybody. 6 months later, I was hired as staff. But when I was volunteering, though, I was working with him, and in my area in Maine, in Lincoln County, he goes, "You need to look into the mystery cats." And I said, "What, Black Panthers?" And he was like, "No, mountain lions." We got into a little yes, no, and of are they here? Because I told him they were. He says, "No, they're not." I said, "Yes, they are." He said, "No, they're not." We went back and forth until he finally explained that the state doesn't recognize them and considered them extinct, even though it took 3 years later before the state finally declared them extinct.
Wow.
Even with the sightings and stuff. So I got looking into that and started researching, getting newspaper articles, talking to people who had sightings. And thankfully, I remember the people that told me 20 years ago about their sightings. So I try to go back just 30 years because there are other people who have done really great work on the subject and, in-depth stuff. But I try to keep it more up to date, more recent as I can.
That's
And
awesome.
And so, like the mountain lion term usually that consists of like cougars, mountain lions, panthers. They're all considered the same.
They are all the same. They're the only animal. They have over 40 names
Yeah.
that they are called.
Is that
That's
hard when
one
you're kind
thing.
of doing research? Somebody saying, "No, I saw a panther. I saw a mountain lion. I saw a cougar. I saw a puma."
I'm like, you saw, yeah, that's
Yeah.
what they saw. So
Yep.
I try to, my term for them, and the term that I use the most, is, ghost cat,
Yep.
because they are very elusive. And they aren't where they're not supposed to be here, and you're having sightings. They stand out for that name so
Yep.
well, so well.
Yeah, I know. I saw you post something about Florida Panthers just
I
recently.
post a lot because they
Yeah.
reintroduced them into Florida, and they
Yeah.
are actually thriving, except for the fact of you have a lot more traffic than we do in our state.
Yeah.
And they had, I think it was 35 or 36 fatalities with cars and mountain lions last
Wow.
year, and they've already had 2 this year.
Yeah, it's nuts here in Florida with the Florida Panthers and stuff. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's been there's tons of I can name like 100 articles that talking about these Florida Panthers that are just getting hit by cars left and right. It's especially I don't know if you're familiar with Alligator Alley, but it's just a 2-lane, well, it's a 4-lane road, but like a lot of gators get hit on there and a lot of Florida Panthers. Yeah, it's nuts. It's getting to the point where they probably will be extinct, because they're getting hit
Yeah.
so much everywhere.
I think like the difference with in Maine though, like I know when I spoke to you in the chat, Gene, I used a term you don't use.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
I use
yeah.
Lazarus creatures, which would be like the thylacines, megalodons, anything that was there was a real creature that disappeared for a period of time that seemed to be kind of coming back. I'm not sure if that's the case in Florida where they were never extinct. They're still
Well, I think that they repopulated the area. It was a reintroduction for
okay.
Florida. And they do discuss that a lot with like other eastern states and
Yeah.
stuff. And then I don't know what happens, but it goes back. And yeah, with the Lazarus term you do, I use that for the coelacanths because where
Yes.
that was thought to be extinct for,
Yeah.
a long
Thousands of
period
years.
of time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I know in
Yeah.
Maine they're not reintroduced. They're just still seen very, very
Yeah,
randomly,
they're
right?
still seen. And when I started doing the research and stuff, like I said, I was looking into it. The issue that I had was in 2022, I took it a really deep dive into it because of the fact that I had my own sighting,
Mhm.
but mine wasn't an adult. Mine was a juvenile, I would
Oh,
say 5 to 6 months old, because this thing literally, I thought when it came out of the marsh area and was running along the side of it, I thought it was going to hit this leopard because they are a rusty brown when they're babies, and they've
mhm.
got these dark, dark brown spots that look black. And yeah, I was able to have enough wits about me after I stopped to see where it went in, because it probably went a good, I would say 30, 40 feet up the road alongside before it went into the
Oh, wow.
thickets and up to a rock wall. I stopped to try to check, and I was told later on by somebody that it was kind of idiotic because if it's that young, the mama's not too far away.
Yeah.
And that is my only fear when I'm out in the woods by
Yeah.
myself, is running along into a baby, just because mamas are very protective. But I hadn't thought at the time because I was just trying to process what I saw. But once I got back home, I just grabbed my gear and I went back, and the one track it left was when it came out of the marsh and hit the dirt before it hit the road, and I was able to actually cast that track.
Oh, wow.
Oh
Excellent.
wow.
Yeah, so there you do have like casts and hairs and proof and whatnot.
I have the track, and I actually showed it to my state biologist. I showed him the photo I have of it, and I still to this day, it's just one of those funny things because I sat down with him to go over a discussion of the sightings, what his thoughts were, and different stuff. But when I said I have a few things for you to look at, do you mind? And he said not at all. So he looked at the photo and he was like, this print is asymmetrical. It's not symmetrical because feline tracks like bobcats, lynx, and mountain lions. They're asymmetrical. They're more rounded. And he was like, "There's no defining claw prints like you would find with a canine." He goes, "This is asymmetrical. This is extremely interesting." He's like,
Yeah.
"Where did you find it?" And I explained to him, and he turned around and he handed me back the photo, and he said, "You're saying breeding population? There is none." Nope.
So what are they telling you that you need to prove to them for this to become an extant animal instead of
He really didn't give me any. He told me that the work that he insulted me 3 times during our conversation, but then he turned around and told me that the work that I'm doing is great because I let him know that I have a life size, because I made it myself, a life size cardboard cutout of a mountain lion. So when I have a sighting, because I do go to people's properties, I do
yeah,
reenactments and stuff. And he goes, "That's perfect." He goes, "Now you just need like a bobcat one and a lynx one." The
Yeah.
difference with the stuff is though is, I mean, our bobcats in this state, I know, and even he said the same thing. He's never seen bobcats so big. These things
yeah.
they get really big,
Almost
and
like
I can understand. What's that?
almost cryptic like.
Yeah, you kind of wonder why, because they say there can't be any interbreeding between the two
Yeah.
species, but there's always that question, and they shoot that down as well. Um, but it's just one of those things. It's like, yes, a lot of these sightings are 80% of them are misidentification, okay,
Mhm.
and stuff. But there are hunters out there that have been out in the woods that have, come across all this stuff. They've seen the bobcats, they've seen the lynx, they've
Yeah.
come across a lot of stuff, and they will tell you straight up, this is what they saw. And when I talk to somebody, I never use the term mountain lion, panther, or anything. I always say, what did the animal look like? How
Yeah.
big was it? How long? And stuff, because I don't like to, I feel like if I mention
Yeah.
it, then I'm kind
Lead
of
the
feeding
witness
them.
kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't like doing that. But when you have hunters that know the animals and
Exactly.
stuff and tell you that they've seen it, you can't look at somebody and say they haven't. And when I was talking to the biologist too, it's like hair samples are fine, but
Yep.
I know people that have hair samples that just don't want to turn them over because they're afraid that they're
Yeah.
going to just be told that's not what it is.
Yep.
That's not what it is.
Or it just
And
disappears, never to be seen again,
yeah,
that sample with no explanation.
yeah,
Yep.
exactly. So and he never gave an actual what it would take,
Yeah.
Mhm.
to prove them. He was just trying to prove to me and tell me why they're not here. There's not enough caves in the area. Yes, they can live in caves, but these are the most adaptable animals in the world.
Yeah.
Okay, they live in tropical forests. They live in the freaking Arctic tundra in Canada, and in
Exactly.
Alberta. They live in deserts. They live in marsh areas. They live in forest area. I mean, they adapt to where they're at
Yeah, they're
and stuff.
elusive creatures. If you
Yeah.
have a cat, just a generalized domestic cat in your house, there's sometimes I come home and I can't find mine for 10 minutes, and that's in a
Yeah.
house. Imagine trying to find an elusive big cat in such a large wooded area. They're not just
And
gonna
most of
walk
the
up to
time, you
you.
probably have come across one and wouldn't even know it because they're that quiet, and
Yep.
they will. They. I always tell it because everybody's like, "Aren't you afraid?" I'm not afraid to be out there doing this stuff.
Yep.
My only concern, and when it comes to these cats, is if I come across one, and that's usually when the issues are, is if you've got a juvenile that's been weaned too fast from mommy. Mommy's decided, I've had enough. You're hanging off me, just go away. And they weren't trained to hunt properly. They will go for the easiest meal that they can get. And it's the same if they get older, they get to the point they just can't hunt. They
Yeah.
will go for the easiest prey. But other than that, usually if they're out there, you don't see them. They could see you and they're gone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You wouldn't even know it because you half the time you can't hear. They're so quiet.
And that's
That's
the thing too, I would assume that they would want to have some sort like you're doing this work proving that they're out there, and it would follow that there would be conservation after that. I feel
Mhm.
like Maine is such a big conservation state, they would want something like that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't, because I talked to the former state biologist as well, the one who declared them extinct, because I
Mhm.
was trying to figure out what laws they have for protection. He really didn't go over anything with me and stuff, but he was like, you realize though, everybody's going to tell you you're opening a can of worms. And I said, I've gotten that. And I've gotten a lot of people telling me that, just I should stop because this isn't going to go good because of the conservation part of it. They're like, oh,
Yeah.
it's going to shut down logging. It's going to do that. And he's like, no. And I'm like, how could it be that much happening when they were just declared legally extinct and taken off the endangered species list in 2018? How much has actually changed within the state? you know
Yeah.
and he's like, you're right. And the other state biologist, the one that I talked to that's for my region, who is current, he goes, it's mistruths. There's just people, you can't tell people. You start telling people that you're looking into this, he says, and they're going to jump to whatever conclusion and tell you you're wrong no matter what. He says, so I just stopped arguing with people. He
Yeah.
goes, he goes, I just let them say their piece and leave it at that.
I mean, honestly, think about it. If you, thank you, Heidi. If you did in the future, like prove that they are out there, they need to be protected, that's going to cause an uproar.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
So,
it
it's the
will.
same with like in Australia, the thylacine. People are still out there seeing
Yeah.
it. And the
Yeah.
conservation needed to
Yeah.
control that. The government would never want that. It's easier to it's gone. Don't worry about it. Rip that down and make a road rather than, well,
Yeah.
let's make sure we're spending so much time trying to make new animals, like the whole like colossus thing that's going on over in Australia, rather
Mhm.
than using that money towards conservation. It's just mind blowing.
Yeah, and they were talking about bringing the thylacine back, and
Yes,
it's like,
that's the
how
colossus.
can you? Yeah, it's like you can't bring the thylacine
No,
back. You can bring back something different, and that's when I go into my whole Jurassic Park thing of,
yeah,
Oh, yeah.
it's not a good idea, and life will find a way.
no, and the
Oh,
reason they're not here is our fault to begin with. It's not like they
As
died out on their own,
exactly,
I've watched too
you
many
know.
movies
exactly.
happen.
The last
Huh?
one died in captivity. Was left
Exactly.
outside,
That's
left
horrendous
outside, and
to
froze
think
to
that that
death.
happened. And
Well,
that's one of my favorite all-time cryptids, and it's just so sad that we are the reason that some of these animals don't exist anymore.
Yeah,
well,
when I met did a expedition, a Bigfoot one with the Vogel brothers. Tim
Mhm.
had asked me to do a talk on cryptozoology, and it had
yeah.
the thylacine and
Yeah,
how neat that, because
it's
it's
my
so
favorite.
fascinating.
Yeah.
Yeah. If I have to say, like, I do most like, I was just reading earlier today, there's a book, by Richard Freeman,
Hmm.
In Search of Adventures in Cryptozoology, and he talks a lot about conservation and thylacines and how we've basically, I mean, we could be killing populations of Bigfoot and not realize it by
Yeah.
Hmm.
deforestation and everything like that because
Yep.
it's not proven to be real, so we don't have to worry about it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, it's sad. Like here in Florida, they're buying up land that's supposed to be protected, and they're just destroying all that land and all those animals that are like living there. It's just they're just
Yeah.
pushed out, and like those Florida panthers and gators and snakes and bear. We got a lot of bears here, and a bunch of wild cats and foxes. It's just sad though what's going on in this world. Like they're just getting pushed out and killed, and it's gonna be to the point where we're not gonna be able to do what we want to do, be able to do research um for anything. Bigfoot,
Yeah.
panthers, anything you could
There's
think of.
going to be no wild
No,
areas to go to anymore.
no, it's gonna be sad, and when that time comes, it's not gonna be a good thing for all of us researchers. We're gonna be talking about telling stories.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's unfortunately kind of like what we're doing now. We're telling
Yeah,
stories of
pretty much.
creatures. I mean, they're just getting moved out, they're getting rehomed,
Yep.
and they're not allowing, like, even if Gene brings, like, you brought a cast in, and they were like, nah, which is mind blowing to me. That's even
Yeah,
a print.
he told me he doesn't trust the plaster stuff, but you know what he did tell me to do, which was to me the craziest thing I've ever heard anybody say, okay, is he told me He would trust it better if I took a piece of plexiglass, put it over it, and traced the print and showed him.
Showed him.
I'm like, I could do that at home. I
Yeah,
could do
exactly.
that at home.
I could draw one on my desk here and send it to him in the mail if you trust that. Like,
I
just
know. I
I'll
was
send
like, what
everybody
the heck?
everybody send him prints.
I'll just trace
And
my
the thing is I actually had a friend who he has passed away now, but he had helped get me in touch with these state biologists so that I could actually, in my region, so I could talk to him. And he was sitting there through this whole conversation and stuff, and he was like looking at me when we left. He was like, "I'm so that. What did he just?"
Yeah,
Like, I
that's
know.
crazy. It's just denial. I mean, it's been people in, and I hate to say like government. I'm not against government. I don't want that to start up that like Jessica hates government, but I know, any type of government or any type of conservation, it's just so easier to deny it. But like even in the comments, I see Tim had said a lot of food running around. They're not going to.
Yeah.
You have a population that has more than enough food in the woods in Maine to survive.
Oh
It's
yeah.
crazy to deny that that might be a possibility. They might be out there.
yeah.
You're not saying
Well,
you're seeing a chupacabra. You're seeing an animal that was once there, that once
Yeah.
thrived
yeah,
there.
and I mean, I've done, I still do, my work with cryptids and stuff and everything. But the way that because I've been asked tons of times, why did you change it? Why did you change your research? Why did you change it? And it's because, and I'll say it straight up, I did a lot with the whole Bigfoot research
Mhm.
thing, and I've got some really great friends that do it too. But I know a lot of good people that are doing it, and yes, I can still do it, but there's a ton of others that do it as well. This here is more of something that a lot of people don't pay attention to, and I feel I can make a bigger difference
Yeah.
with it. And that's why I switched up my research. It's like I still do the other stuff, but this is really important to me. And
Yeah.
even if I can't prove that they're here, I don't feel like I'm wasting my time trying to, at least give somebody, that has had a sighting that's been told they're crazy, they're insane, whatever, to give them a person to actually be able to express what happened,
Yeah.
and stuff.
How many
So,
sightings would you say maybe in the past month or so? How many sightings would you say that you've heard from people?
um, well, let's see, this summer I had quite a few. I actually did, I think I did probably a good 6 or 7 reports on my own. I've heard of other people having the sightings, but I
Yeah.
do reach out to people, and sometimes I get responses, and a lot of the time I get ghosted. And it's I figure either they don't really want to talk about it with anybody because, they put themselves out there, and social media can be really
Oh
cruel
yeah.
Yeah.
and,
Yeah.
and stuff. But I mean, there's been several sightings. I mean, because I follow a lot of different pages, but I've also had people contact me going, have you heard this? Have you seen this?
Yeah.
And they'll share the stuff with me. And then I'll look into it. I'll get a hold of the people and talk to them and see what, they have to say and stuff. And yeah, so for the last, because I was with a museum up until February of last year. But that took up a lot of my time because it was an hour and a half one way when they were in Portland from where I
Yeah.
live for me to get there. So I'm driving 3 hours, to and from work. And then they're getting ready to open a Bangor one. And that was an hour and 45 minutes
Okay.
each,
Yeah. I was gonna say I
So
love that museum, so I know it's moving to a different section of
yeah.
Maine. Yeah.
And I was like, I don't have any time to really do anything else. So just got a job closer to home, and it's actually freed me up to be able to talk to people, to get out into the field and get my camera set up and different things that I do and stuff. So.
Do you ever get reports of people having close calls with them, like maybe almost getting attacked, or just like?
I've gotten people have said that they're kind of paranoid because they've seen them and they've got livestock, so they start
Yeah.
freaking out,
Yeah.
which is a concern. But with the deer population that we have, a lot of times is probably just passing through. I
Mhm.
mean, they have a huge territory. Um, at least males do. They can have, as small as a 25-mile, territory up to 196-mile territory. So I mean, it just really depends.
Yeah. Do you ever have like sightings of like I'm gonna kind of change it up a little bit, but like
Okay, go
like
ahead.
wolves or anything like that? Because I know
Yeah,
wolves.
there's a Maine Wolf Coalition, and there's been some photos that have been popping up in Maine where it's a possible wolves.
Yeah, because they're saying
Although
there's
they'll say no here too.
yeah. Yeah, because I know they said there's been like big sightings of like I don't want to say dog man, but like just like wolves that don't belong there. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, I mean, there's the other stuff that you're talking about too.
Dog
That
man.
Yeah.
A lot.
But the wolves are common. I mean, there's been a couple, so I just looked up some wolves in Maine. I know they're not there, but there have been some sightings
Yes, there have.
randomly,
Yeah,
right? Yeah.
yeah, yeah. There have been.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we have. I think we've had some sightings here in Florida of wolves, and they're not even supposed to be here. That's what I'm saying. Like when you get like all this crap that goes on, and they get pushed out, like you'll get like creatures
Well,
that
yeah, but you also can't stop a wolf and be like, "No, no, 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 no. This is
yeah.
Florida." Like they're gonna
That,
Well,
go
that
where they
was
want to go. You can't be like,
that.
"Sir, you
Yeah,
can't be
and
here."
well,
yeah, that's the other thing too, is like even we're talking with the state biologist and stuff, these animals move,
Yeah.
they move, okay? And
different.
say you've got one coming from western states moving out, like the one that got hit by a car in Connecticut,
Mhm.
okay? That one traveled for um a year and a half from
Wow.
the foothills of South Dakota, went into Illinois. I mean, they were able to kind of get a pattern of where it had been after it got
Yeah.
hit from, scat and different, samples along the route. But he was like, oh, well, there's no breeding population, there's no territory here in Maine and stuff. And I said, so if one walks along, oh, I can't cross the border, it's Maine, or,
Exactly.
it's like, I'm sorry, because in um, 2001 to 2012, the University of Montreal did a study where they put out scratch traps, okay, because there was not supposed to be any mountain lions below the St. Lawrence River, and they ended up getting a ton of I think it was 19 hair samples that came back. Well, they had more than that, but it was by the time you end up calculating it up and stuff and realizing some of the hair samples are the same, it ended up being 19 so of positive um, mountain lion
Yeah.
DNA. And what they ended up doing was they broke it down into, I'm horrible with DNA, what they called a haplotype. So they were trying to figure out if it was South American, South or Central American, or if it was North American. 9 samples, 10 samples came back that they were Central South America. So that is most likely a release pet or,
Yeah.
you know, and stuff. And then you had 9 samples that weren't. But because these cats are in North America are the same. I know they do subspecies this, subspecies that.
Yeah.
There's no way to tell through DNA the difference between a cat that's in the east and a cat that's in the west.
Yeah.
So they could only say they were North American,
Yeah.
and stuff. So
Yeah, and they can't say, I mean, I'm assuming, I don't know that much. This is your specialty. But Canada would have to have mountain lions, cougars, panthers, anything like that also?
then, well, they have New Brunswick, which is right on the border of Maine,
Yeah.
said no, there was none.
Oh,
I actually have this book, great book. It's from the late Bruce S. Wright's Ghosts of North America.
mhm,
Great reference book because he was actually a wildlife biologist that lived in New Brunswick back in the 50s. He published this book because there were supposed to be no mountain lions in New Brunswick at all. And I can't remember how it went, but he was out. There was forest fires. He was out with another bunch of gentlemen, and they were putting out fires when the guy said, "I just saw a mountain lion." And he goes, "What?" He goes, "They're not supposed to be here." So he's like, "All right." So he gets in and he starts getting reports from, the early 1900s right up through. I mean, he's got one in there from a Maine inland fisheries and wildlife gentleman that actually had one up near Grand Lake and
Wow.
stuff back in the 1950s and stuff. And I mean, so it was sad because he ended up passing away before they actually proved that there are mountain lions in New Brunswick, but they will tell you again, no breeding population.
Hmm.
That's crazy to think that they're telling you there couldn't even just be two kicking around somewhere
Yeah.
making cubs
Or
it
just
just doesn't make any
no,
sense.
yeah, it doesn't.
And when I talked to my biologist too, because I know that in 2023, Washington put up the big cat law, which means there's no more. They banned all purchases for people to have as pets: tigers, lions, any big
Yep.
cat. It's illegal. They actually arrested a couple in Texas, I think, a year later that were had a jaguar they were trying
Oh,
to
wow.
sell. Um, but they put it into effect while I was talking to the state biologist because he had put out a video back in 1996 saying that he was part of a seizure on a big cat and stuff, and I was literally like, he's done seizures on big cats, and I said I have looked and I have looked and I can't find any reports, any articles, anything on any seizures of illegal big cats as pets. And he goes, "Oh, I have to fix that." He goes, "We did do one, but it wasn't because it was illegal." He goes, "A woman actually went through the paperwork, dotted her I's, crossed her T's. She got a mountain lion cub. The enclosure that she had to have built for it wasn't finished, so she had taken it to a rescue that dealt in this stuff. And when she was finished, the rescue wouldn't give her back her cat. So they had to step in and actually take it from
Oh,
them
wow.
to give back to the woman. So I asked him, I said, "How many people in the state have these, big cats as pets?" And he said 4. So,
Wow.
and
Hey,
then he informed me that even though that law went into effect in 2023, if I filled out the paperwork and I dotted all my I's and crossed all my T's, I could have one too. And I said, "How is that even possible?
Yep.
How is that even possible?"
Yeah.
oh, to have one as a pet,
And
that'd be interesting.
We can't have anything in Massachusetts. We can have dogs and cats. We have very
Not
specific
in Florida. Not
no
you
animal
can have
laws here.
monkeys. You can have
Yeah.
monkeys. You can have like raccoons. You
No,
can
we can't
have
have anything
panthers.
here.
you
Not
can't have tegus anymore.
in
Oh,
Florida.
Yeah, tegus. They banned tegus in Florida. You have to have a special permit. Because
Nice.
I foster one. I actually have
oh,
one.
You can have a gator here in Florida.
Yeah.
You can have
And I
a-
was
well,
in
yeah, you
Florida.
can
I
just
didn't see any gators.
Are you serious? They're like all
I'm
over
dead
really.
serious.
everywhere at the
Yeah.
golf courses. They're on a lot of I've
Yeah, I
seen
feel like you can just pick one up off the side of the road and bring it home at that
like
point.
literally
Yeah, my
like
husband was poking fun of my brother and my brother because he was like, "Dude, I have been here and I have not seen a gator yet." He says, "I think you're making things up."
Yep,
oh
they
no,
don't exist anymore, do
no,
they?
they actually like climb gates. I've seen one climb a gate before. They climb. It's nuts. It's the most weirdest thing ever. And they're fast. They're very fast. Let's see. I've wondered that too. How many are
Yeah.
pets? I knew a guy in high school, uncle that had a big cat and drove big semi trucks.
I was just gonna say, I think she answered. She's in Colorado, Heidi.
Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, for our state, I know that there's 4. I did try to get. I didn't want exact locations
Yeah.
because a lot of times, you have a sighting and you have to wonder. I mean, if I'm driving 55 miles down the road, miles an hour down the road, and you've got somebody that's got one in close, you're not going to notice the fencing, you
Yeah.
know, and you could look and be like, but I couldn't, yeah, I wasn't able to get, like I said, just like a general like, 4 towns or whatever, type of range would be nice, but I wasn't able to, which is fine. I mean, I don't want to invade anybody's privacy, but it does help, because when I went to the rescue Dew Haven, um, a year and a half ago, I talked to them because they have 3. I only saw 2 at the time though, and I was talking to him about the stuff, and I was like, "So how often do you get calls when people say, 'Oh, you've got a mountain lion loose?'" And he goes, "We get them a lot." He goes, "And it's not." He goes, "Because I tell them straight up, if it was one of ours, it's going to come up to you, because they're used to
Yeah.
humans, and they're going to expect that you're going to feed them,
Yeah, they're
because they've
looking for
got
their
one."
food.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because they've got one there that's 13 years old that literally, they have to do blood work, because there's, so much stuff you have to do each year to make sure that, they're still healthy, but there's laws you have to follow. And she will literally put her paw right up against the fence
My
there, so
goodness.
they can just draw her blood without any issue. So
I knew
That
a
paw
lady.
must be
Yeah,
huge too. Like I could
yeah,
I
she's
knew
a
a,
big girl. Yeah.
yeah.
yeah, that's
Oh my
crazy.
God.
I had a customer of mine that actually had a Florida Panther on her bed, literally just chilling like a regular cat.
They do. They act.
Yeah.
That's the thing with these things, is they're big cats, but they're actually the smallest of the big cats. They don't roar. They purr.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, they make the screeching sounds that regular house cats make when they're pissed off.
I was just
The
gonna
only
ask if
thing
you
that
heard like the huffing and the purring or any type of noise in the woods that you didn't
no, but I've
recognize.
I've familiarized myself with the different noises they can do, because I did
Yeah.
not realize they could chirp like birds.
Yeah. That little chuff or chirp they do
Yeah,
Don't they
is
scream like a girl too? Like, don't they like scream like screech real?
they can scream like, yeah, they can
yeah.
screech like, yeah,
A
they can
woman.
do a high pitched, yeah.
It's very high pitched, because I know a lot of people have been in the woods and they've heard these like high pitched sounds, and they
Yeah.
mistake it as like a Bigfoot or something cryptic, like, or
Well, we
something.
have like Fisher cats around here that sound
Yeah,
like a baby crying in the woods, and it's
yeah,
horrifying to hear late at night in
it's
the dark.
yeah, or
Yeah,
like,
I didn't realize that foxes could make the sound of like little kids screeching.
mhm,
Yeah. The noises that animals can make that sometimes are misidentified is just mind blowing until you hear it and you're like,
yeah,
Yeah.
and
I hope that's a regular animal. I I
is
hope that's something that I
True.
know. Yeah.
I hope that's not a Bigfoot
Well,
or
that's what I was like.
something.
There are a lot of like, I mean, we did like if you go Bigfoot hunting, you know what you're listening for, but then you hear something like a fisher cat or a fox, and you can attribute it to an unknown creature because you don't think that there's a fox in your area or
Yeah,
a cougar in your area. It the sounds are so unnatural until you familiarize yourself with this. Like,
And yeah, that's what I make sure I do, and stuff,
yeah,
because people are like, they're like, you go out and at night, and because I mean, my husband and I we went up north with our daughter, and I was like, I want to do a Bigfoot thing, and we went out, middle of the night, had
yeah,
my night vision and stuff, and I scoped out, because I always scope out where I'm going first, because I want to
yeah.
make sure I've got, a way back and stuff, and we were up there, and I still remember it, because I had to laugh at my husband, because I always, people are like, "You're out at night," and I said, "I know my animals. I know what
Yeah.
we have and what's nocturnal, so I'm comfortable with that." But we're up on this side of this hill, and my husband's got my night vision. He's like, "Oh, babe, you got to check this out." He goes, "This is so cool. There's a deer in those bushes." Check the thing. It's not a deer. It's a damn moose. Okay, and I'm looking, going, I can't tell if it's male or female through the night vision, because it's in a bush.
yeah,
So I take my daughter, because she's at the time 14, and we're backing up towards the tree line. He's standing there, and he's like, "This is," and it starts walking towards
Oh
him.
my
And
gosh.
it got probably as close uh, to him as, I would say probably about 10, 15 feet, because the wind was blowing the other way. So she couldn't get his scent until she got up on him. And she
Mhm.
turned around, she ran, and my husband turns around. He's like, "What the heck? You scared much?" And I said, "If that's a bull, it can trample your butt, not mine." I
Yeah.
said, "I'm smart."
just Heidi's like coyote can be creepy too. Yeah,
Yeah.
coyotes are.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
another weird sound out there when
They're
you.
Yep.
so slinky, coyotes. We have
Yeah.
them in our neighborhood very randomly. And when I used to walk my dog around, we'd run into just very, very randomly run into coyotes in the neighborhood, and they'd both stop like 20 feet away and not know what to do with each other. Because
Yeah.
my dog was like, "What are you? I don't recognize you." And the coyote would stare back, and then they're just so slinky and
Yeah. We actually
weird
have
when they
Yeah.
run away.
we actually have a guy here. He hunts coyotes because we have a bad coyote problem here.
Really?
Taking dogs and stuff like that. They've actually found coyote dens where they found a whole bunch of leashes from dogs that
Oh, wow.
these dogs that they've eaten. So it's nuts. They're pretty creepy. Yeah.
And they ran away whenever I ran into them. They didn't attack. They're just so
Hold on to your
small.
dog. That's
Yeah.
for sure.
Well, I mean, in Maine, I'm sure, like you said, there were some reports of like livestock, but I'm sure missing cats, missing dogs, anything could be food for a big cat in the woods if it wanted it long enough.
Yeah, they eat anything from grouse to, deer, I'd have, they say they can go after elk and moose, but I think that's a tall order.
Yeah.
And we don't have elk anyways, but I know that they put that on there. White-tailed deer is usually their favorites, but they'll
Yeah.
eat porcupines.
Oh,
And I
wow.
don't know how now. Yeah. I mean,
That's nuts.
it's insane. They're not fussy.
No,
No.
that's for sure. They don't care to get poked if they're gonna
I
eat the
mean, they're
dog.
hungry.
Yeah, hey, you gotta eat. You gotta eat.
Yeah.
Well, before we get going, I know we have a few minutes left. Why don't you share a little bit about your Bigfoot experiences before we head out, and how you became the love of Bigfoot.
Oh, okay. Well, no, I mean, yeah, like I said, I read up and did as much as I could on this stuff. I did, once I, um, had started at the museum, I started getting out on social media more with like the Bigfoot pages and different stuff. And I was able to do, my first expedition in, Whitehall, New York in 2016. I went and did one there. That was very intriguing because we had a lot of coyotes and, um, whenever we did the holler, the Bigfoot yells there. Um, we also we got audio back. The gentleman who was running it, we got audio back of rocks being thrown. My husband went with me because where it was like my first one, and I didn't know anybody. I dragged him along. Thankfully, he likes night hunting, hiking, and he doesn't care for the whole. He doesn't believe, I should say. But he left there going, I don't know what the heck to say because they got audio of rocks being thrown at them in the middle of nowhere in the woods, deep
Yeah.
in the woods. Um, I did one in New Jersey with no luck, and then the one that I did with Tim and Eric, that one that one had an interesting last night because there was something that was tossed that made this big, loud, obnoxiously loud noise, like it was a rock that had hit, like, but then dropped, several feet down, enough that Eric came up off the rock he was sitting on, and we started looking around, therming and stuff. Didn't see anything, but we had rocks coming down over the hill behind us, and they went back the next day when it was light, and they couldn't find anything. Couldn't find anything. I did remind Tim though that our friend Kevin, who's no longer with us, but at the time he was there, he actually had his parabolic um, going a ways away, and he supposedly got the noise that we heard. So, but it's interesting,
Yeah.
and and I don't know the mystery. I love the mystery. Is it there? Is it not?
Exactly. That's the best part of it. I mean, I almost don't want the proof. I love the mystery so much of it. The what if,
Y-
the
Yeah,
searching for it, the stories, everything surrounding like these types of creatures is so much fun to research and look
it
for and
is,
talk about. It really is.
and people are like, well, you go out half the time and you don't find anything. You know what? 95 to 98% of the time, you're not. Okay. Every now and then
Yep.
you'll get something good. Like we got that noise. I don't know what it was, but to me, that was still like, wow, the
Exactly.
rocks being thrown. Awesome. But you know what? I don't care that the other 98% nothing's happening. I'm out in the woods. I'm having a good time.
Yep.
I'm enjoying myself and I'm trying, at least I'm out there trying,
Yeah.
looking
Yeah.
and stuff. So
Once people lose that mystery, it's just they're not.
yeah,
It's just, why bother anymore? Like it's so fun to be able to go out and have that good time to
yeah,
look to search for it. I mean, why not?
Yeah, that's what the
right.
fun is. You get to go out there and have fun, and
Yeah.
it's better than just sitting at home and doing nothing, just twiddling your thumbs, because you're out there researching. And who knows, you might find something cool out there that no one's ever seen or heard of. Who knows? You might find Jim Bob the alien come down.
Yeah.
And
You could
be
be
able
part of
to-
that 2% that finds something.
yeah, you never know. Like you might be able to shake hands with Bigfoot, or see a chupacabra, but it's fun. That's why we
It
do
is.
this.
And it's a great community. I mean,
Oh yeah.
Oh
the
yeah,
the three of us, June 7th, might as well throw that in there while we're all on.
yay!
Yeah, Critter Fest. Don't forget about that. Get your tickets right now.
No,
Yes, you
yes,
will be able
Critter
to meet
Fest.
all of us at Critter Fest, June 7th.
It's gonna be awesome. It's
Yeah,
gonna be a blast.
very excited to see everybody in person.
Me too. I'm excited.
It's gonna be it's gonna be a great weekend.
It's gonna be a party.
We gotta get
Yeah.
Jay to go there too. We gotta force him to go to Critter Fest also.
Have Jay to drive up to Russell, Mass.
Yeah,
Jay's watching. Jay,
Together.
let's go. Get up here.
Jay, let's like carpool. When I like drive up there, we'll carpool together. We'll
There you go.
drive up to Maine. If you want to do that, that'd be fun.
Jay, get up here. You get to meet Gene. Talk about big cats. Get up here.
Yep.
Well, you get to meet a lot of people actually. So
Yeah,
the
Cool.
speaker list is crazy for that day.
It's not.
it is. It's I'm looking
you-
forward to meeting Ernie. I know
Yep.
Dave, so I get to reminisce with Dave. I get to
Yeah.
reminisce with Tim and Eric. I mean, this is going to be, and I get to meet Mike. I've never met Mike, so
Yeah.
I'm meeting
is it-
everybody for the first time. So
Well,
anybody that's watching that's going to be there, I am shy as hell in real life. So do not be offended. I am just a shy person unless there's a video camera in front of me.
I'm not, I talk a lot, so that's what happens. But
yeah, I do
you gonna
too.
do-
So
Are you going to be anywhere prior to Critter Fest that people can find you doing any types of talks or anything like that? Or is
no,
Critter Fest your next?
yeah, Critter Fest is the Cobble Mountain Critter Festival
Okay.
is my next thing. This is like my 5th podcast in like 2 months, so
Okay.
yeah,
I'm busy with that too.
Yeah.
to talk about the
Yeah.
Critter Fest, that'd be cool.
It will
yeah.
be. It's gonna be so much fun.
Yeah.
No, it's gonna be awesome. Thank you so much, Gene, for coming on our show. It's been such a blast. I definitely want to talk to you more about Panthers, and especially the Florida Panthers down here, because it's been a big issue down here. But thank you so much again for coming on the show for Animal Expedition Files. We'll definitely have to have you on again. And thank you so much, everybody who is listening on to the show every week on Wednesday and Saturday, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. You don't want to miss out. This Saturday, we'll be back, me and Jay, at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. So we will chat with you later, and hope you guys stay safe and stay safe from this freaking cold. So everybody, don't get sick like we did.
Yeah.
It's bad. So
Stay healthy.
Yep. Take some airborne. Take some airborne, everybody. So
Yep.
let me find this video so we can exit out of here, people. All right, here we go. All right, everybody, have a good night. Peace.
Lights on. Dark Realm TV. Coming soon.